Hello, everybody. This is John Fenn with Church Without Walls International, CWOWI.org. Good to be with you this sunny morning here in Oklahoma. Whenever you're seeing this, I hope you're having a good day. I share these things about discipleship and along the discipleship process. And today, talking about how to walk out according to your faith, be it unto you. You know, there's a whole church culture that has to do with just relying on God for everything. That they think that that He has everything to do with what we receive or don't receive in this life. But there's a principle there from Matthew chapter 9, verses 28 and 29, when two blind men came to Jesus and He said, "Do you believe I'm able to do this?" And they said, "Yes, we do." And He said, "Then let it be according to your faith." And then they were made whole. So you'll note in there, it wasn't up to Jesus. He said it was according to your faith, or in the King James Version, according to your faith be it unto you. And Jesus never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so as a result of that, we've got to realize that He treats us the same way He treated them. And those blind men, He just simply asked, "Do you believe I'm able to do this?" And when they said yes, all He said was, "Then let it be according to your faith." Jesus Himself had very little to do with it. It was their response that they already had the faith to get through their situation, to even get their healing. But Jesus had to make them aware of it. In fact, I've got a whole series called Healing School, where I talk about how Jesus maneuvered people into position to bring out their faith. And much of the time, it was their faith that He ended up highlighting and pointing out that it was according to their faith, and their faith has made them whole. But anyway, that's a side trip. Let me give you an example. In John chapter 6, verses 5 and 6 and 7, there's a multitude of people who followed Jesus. And so in like 5,000 men plus women and children. And it says this, the text says this in John chapter 6. It says, he said to Philip, he said, "Where shall we buy bread so that all these people can have something to eat?" And then the next verse, John chapter 6 and verse 6 says, "This He said to test Him, for He Himself knew what He wanted to do," or what He would do. This He said to test Him. You know, the Lord does not tempt, test, or try us with evil. In fact, James chapter 1 and verse 2 says, "Let everyone count it joy when you fall into various tests, trials, and temptations." But He says in verse 13 of James 1, 2, after saying count it all joy, in verse 13 He says, "Now let when somebody's tempted, tested, or tried, don't say God's doing it to him, because God isn't tempting them with evil, neither does He test any man with evil. And He Himself is not tested with evil." And so, but the Lord does test us, and He tests us by giving us opportunities to step out in faith or to shrink back into the natural, our natural tendencies and the natural world. Think about what was going on with those blind men. All Jesus needed to know is, did they have faith? And when they said yes, then He said, "Then let it be to you according to your faith." With Philip, He said, "How are we going to feed these 5,000 men plus women and children?" And He said that to test Philip. Philip had already seen water turned into wine and a bunch of other miracles. And so Jesus is wondering, will Philip rise up and look for a supernatural solution to the situation, or will he fall back on natural knowledge? And of course, Philip fell back on natural knowledge. He said that even a day's wages or a month's wages is not going to be enough to buy food for all these people. And then Jesus ended up multiplying the loaves and the fishes. But the point is that Jesus said, how are we going to do this? And that's what He puts to you and I today. I have an example from my own life. Years ago, in what seems like a long time ago in a galaxy far away, about 30 years ago, I was in between churches and was about to become the pastor of a church about 3 hours away from where we lived. Now, at that point, because of our poverty at the time, we were borrowing a person's car. We were in between and growing family and everything, and we just didn't have a car. And so someone loaned us a car, and it was supposed to be a temporary thing. And then one day, right before we were to move 3 hours away, they said, "I'm going to need that car. I'm not going to let you take that car 3 hours away to use it. I need it to stay here because I'm going to need it next week," etc. And that put us in a position kind of like Philip with the loaves and the fishes and everything else. It's like, what are we going to do? In the natural, we started going through, okay, we need a car. We've got to get 3 hours away. We've got 3 boys. We've got to have different things like that. And here's what the natural was thinking. Here's what I was thinking in the natural. I was thinking, go to them and ask for more time. Go to them and offer them maybe to rent something, rent the car from them, or search out somebody else in the church that we could borrow a car for a week or two or three or four, whatever the case is. I was looking for natural things. But then I realized, according to your faith be it unto you. And this was an opportunity. This decision was an opportunity for me to think not in the natural, but the supernatural. So Barb and I decided, you know what? The Father promises to provide our needs, to take care of our needs. So this is what we need. We need a 4-door car big enough for our 3 boys and our dog and be able to get us down to our new church 3 hours away, 2.5, 3 hours away. And we need to do it with no money down. We need to buy a car with no money down. We need to do it with payments of no more than $150 a month. And we submitted that to the Father. We were looking for the supernatural. It was according to our faith be it unto us. We could have shrunk back. We could have gone around to people in the church that we knew and say, can we borrow a car for a month until we get on our feet financially with the new pay and the new church and all that. We could have sought any number of natural things, but instead we said, Father, this is our provision. We have no need. I will be able to make payments within 30 days, but I don't have any cash down, et cetera, et cetera. Well, as I was praying about this, and we'd submitted that to the Father and determined to not find a natural solution, but a supernatural solution, that right before, a couple days before turning back that car to our friends, I passed this used car lot, and this car just kind of jumped out at me. Among all the cars there, this car just sort of hit me in my spirit. It was a white Chevy 4-door. And so I went to the man, and I talked to him about it. And, he told me the price it was and everything. And I explained roughly our situation, that I was looking for no money down and pay somebody in 30 days. He said, well, this is a consignment car, and it's from a lady. You mentioned you used to be part of that church. Maybe you know her. And he told me the name. I did know her. And so I was able to call her and tell her the situation. And she sold us the car with no money down, only the promise of making a payment within 30 days. And so just overnight, we had this car. And it was a great car, served us well, and it was a blessing. It was God's provision for the time. But the thing is, we never would have seen that had I not thought, according to my faith be it unto me. I could have gone to the natural and said, I don't have the money for this, like Philip did. We don't have the money for this. How can this happen? And you fall back in fear, and you fall back in worry, and you say, God, where are you? Where are you? He may be doing these things to allow you to step up according to your faith be it unto you. So I would encourage you to, if you're in the midst of a decision right here, and you're thinking in the natural, and yet you know that there's a need out there, and the Father God promises to take care of your need, that you take that step and say, okay, this is what the need requires, like we did. We needed 4 doors, big enough for our kids and a dog, and to serve us well, and a big trunk, and we were able to have that car. But it was the steps to getting that car with no money down and the first payment in 30 days was not revealed until we made the decision to not look to the natural means, of which we did not have the resources, but rather look to his supernatural provision, not knowing who we would find favor with, not knowing where we'd find such a purchase. But by making the decision, according to our faith be it unto us, making the decision then unlocked other doors and caused us to step along the right path. Something that it says of Abraham in Romans chapter 4, and it's verses 18 through 20. And it says this about Abraham, who received promises from the Lord. And it said, in the King James Version, it doesn't translate it correctly. The actual, if you read the Greek interlinear, it says that Abraham considered his body as good as dead, and the deadness of Sarah's womb. But he did not shrink back, because he was fully persuaded that what God had promised he was able to perform. So there's so many people who in faith are trying to call something which is as though it is not. That's not faith. That's foolishness. What Abraham did was recognize what is, but he called it something. He went in faith and called that which God had promised into his life, so to speak, to use that jargon. The point is that we don't deny the circumstances. We face them head on. And many times I'll talk to people, and it's like they've got a utility bill. Maybe it's a cutoff notice or something like that. And they don't want to talk to them because they're afraid. It's like, how can you? That's like Philip saying, hey, we don't have enough money for this. And what I encourage them to do, I said, talk to the utility company. Talk to the credit card company. See what provision can be there. A lower interest rate, a deferred payment, something like that. But you won't see God's provision as long as you sit back and say, I don't want to call them because I'm afraid of what they might do. No, step forward. Say, Father, this is a need. They're calling me. I need to address it. I need to do the right thing. And so I'll look for your provision, your grace, your favor as I step out according to my faith, be it unto me. So I hope that this is a blessing to you today to consider wherever you are at a crossroads in your life. Consider the natural things. Take them into account. Don't shrink back from them, but deal with them honestly and head first, straight on, but trust the Lord. That is a step of faith, and just see what His provision will be. Don't do something foolish, but do what is right in the natural. Do the next good thing and right thing, but then also trust the Lord in taking that step, that He's going to open up doors and provision for you. All right. Hope it's been a blessing. Talk to you later. Bye bye.